And hello everybody and welcome to the Movie Pit Podcast. I am your host Christian. Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast this week. It's been an interesting week this week, news-wise, because it's been pretty slow. Also, I want to say I'm sorry for not doing a review podcast like I mentioned last week. It was Memorial Day on Monday. Hopefully all you guys had a good Memorial Day. And then Tuesday, I had some siblings stay over because they took the day off. So I was like, I don't want to do something when my siblings are here. I want to hang out with them as much as I can. And then Wednesday came and I got a little lazy. And then Thursday came and I was doing some housework. And now it's Friday and I didn't have enough time to do a review, so forgive me for that. However, I did mention to give myself some sort of okay. I did mention I wouldn't be reviewing every movie I watched. However, I did want to do a spoiler review podcast for Alien Covenant, but I didn't get to do it. And then last week, of course, we didn't get to do a review podcast, I'd say, for Baywatch or Pirates of the Caribbean. Very quickly, Alien Covenant, okay movie, very frustrating in terms of quality, because there's some good stuff in there, and then there's some bad stuff in there, and the bad somewhat outweighs the good, so there's that. Baywatch, it's a Baywatch movie, you know what you're walking into. And Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales, it's a somewhat return to form, but not fully. It's still grasping on to the things that to the things that made Pirates of the Caribbean go downhill in terms of quality. So I'll just say that. And Lowriders, if you haven't seen Lowriders, I don't think it's in a lot of theaters anymore. Very good movie, very surprising movie, I should say. It's definitely going to go on one of my surprise movies of the year at the end of the year for sure. So forgive me for that. I will absolutely, no matter what, I will record this podcast as soon as I wake up next week. There will be a review podcast, a spoiler-filled review podcast for Wonder Woman next week, early next week, either Monday or Tuesday. Haven't figured out when I want to release the review podcast, but they will be either Mondays or Tuesdays for sure. Speaking of Wonder Woman, not only does it segue into our first news item of the day, it also segues into a little personal story. I spontaneously went to go watch Wonder Woman last night. I was going to watch it over the weekend. I'm going to go back and watch it again, but I ended up watching it yesterday, and I really liked it. So I will give you a little bit more of my thoughts at the end of the podcast. We're talking about Wonder Woman in the this week's releases segment of the podcast, but I liked it. I really did. So let's move on to the news items of the week. Of course, we always talk about the news items that came out last week after the podcast went up, and one of them, like I mentioned, was a Wonder Woman story. This report came out from an interview that director Patty Jenkins did, saying that Wonder Woman has no deleted scenes. Now, I don't know if that's completely true, but that is what director Patty Jenkins said in an interview, saying that there are no deleted scenes in Wonder Woman, so we won't be expecting the typical DCEU director's cut edition on DVD or Blu-ray. So this is pretty cool. And Patty Jenkins isn't known for having deleted scenes in her movies anyway. She tends to film everything that's in the script and put it up on screen, or if she takes off any sort of scene, it's because it fits her vision of the story and it fits her vision of what the movie should be. So watching Wonder Woman last night, I can kind of maybe see where there would be deleted scenes, but overall, I think if there are no deleted scenes in Wonder Woman, that's pretty remarkable, to say the least, especially in this day and age. So it's pretty interesting. She did address some rumors about Wonder Woman. Of course, there was those rumors that we briefly talked about here on the podcast, that Wonder Woman was a mess, quote unquote, and she surprisingly gave an answer to that, saying, quote, "That actually was the most frustrating thing when somebody made up that rumor that it was a mess." And I was like, really, a mess? It's the opposite. It is so even keel and steady. It's been such a opposite experience. The rumor mill of these movies has been quite something to behold. I tried to learn to tune it out, but one thing I want to say to the readers, because it truly was stunning to me to watch, is you truly can't believe how absolutely false certain things are until you're inside one of these things. So yeah, she went there. She also went on to say that she could have answered all the rumors, but instead she stayed focused on editing and making the best movie possible, which was true because Wonder Woman was a pretty good movie, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll be talking about Patty Jenkins later on in the podcast. There was a big news item that came out this week. It actually is our big news item of the week, so we'll talk about that later on in the podcast. So let's move on to trailer talk. This week, we had some interesting trailers pop up this week. There's a new trailer for It Comes at Night, the new A24 film that comes out, I believe, next week. Yeah, it comes out next week, so they released a new trailer. It's a very interesting trailer. It takes quotes from... It's edited very weirdly, too, and it's a good teaser. It's a good trailer. And if they released this teaser first, I would have really liked it, too. So it takes footage from the movie, but it puts them like in squares, and all the other empty space in the screen is filled up with these quotes from these different different poets and from poems, and it like immediately turns that quote into the opposite. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting teaser, and again, if they had released that teaser first. Like, if that was the first teaser released, I think it would have really, really sucked me in, and it still sucked me in. I actually do want to go watch It Comes at Night, so that would definitely be a movie we would be reviewing on the podcast as well. So there's that. The first trailer for Victoria and Abdul was released. It is a movie starring Dame Judi Dench, and she plays the Queen, and it's a very intriguing premise. I can't remember if it was based on a true story or if it was based on a book that was based on a true story, but it's about the Queen, and she strikes up this friendship, I should say, with a servant from India. His name is Abdul, and the two kind of have this weird friendship, and everyone sees it as odd, and it's a very intriguing trailer. It looks like an interesting concept. Again, I can't remember if it was based off a true story or if it was based off a book, but it's one of those two, and it's a really interesting. I saw the trailer very early on in the week, so that's why I'm a little confused. I didn't watch it again to my mistake, but it's very it's very Oscar baited. It does come out at near the end of the year, so this is a movie we may be talking about come Oscar or Golden Globes time for sure. So going on to the next trailer, it's actually the teaser trailer for Paddington 2. If you remember Paddington Bear, that was released. I believe it was released 2 years ago. So the teaser for the sequel has been released. I can't talk now, and it's typical. It's kind of like the first movie teaser where it's showing Paddington trying to clean windows, and he's cleaning windows, and everyone's kind of saying, you have a bear on your roof, right? It's very interesting. I still haven't seen Paddington. I haven't. I was very reluctant to see it in theaters, and then I heard how good it was. And by the time I finally had enough time to go watch Paddington, it was out of theaters, so I haven't watched it at home or anything like that. I do want to watch it because I do hear it's very good, and if it's anything like the teaser for Paddington 2, I think I'm going to like it. So there's a new teaser for that, or the first teaser for that, I should say. There is a new first trailer for The Mountain Between Us. It is a film that stars Idris Elba and Kate Winslet. They play two strangers. Elba is a in-demand doctor, and Winslet is a photojournalist on her way to her wedding. And the two kind of charter a plane together, but their plane crashes, and they're the only two survivors on that plane, and they have to survive the wilderness together. It's a very interesting concept, and it's a very pretty cool trailer. Apparently this film has been in the works for a long time. Michael Fassbender was attached, Charlie Hunnam was attached, Rosamund Pike was attached. This is a film that's been kicking around Hollywood for a while, and it's finally getting made. And seeing Elba and Winslet together, it seems like they're going to be alone for it's just going to be them two for the majority of the movie. This is a really good powerhouse acting film, and having those two attached, it's pretty good. So The Mountain Between Us, I believe that comes out, I want to say November. I could be wrong about that, but trailer's out if you want to go watch it. The first trailer for The Murder on the Orient Express has been released. This is a really, really good trailer. It doesn't really show too much, but it's a trailer that pretty much says, hey, look at how many A-listers we have in this movie. And it's based off a Agatha Christie story, and it's a remake because there was a movie already made, I believe in the very early, I can't remember what year it was, but it's one of these movies that's been made already. But the film, it's directed by Kenneth Branagh, who's also the lead in the movie. There's Daisy Ridley's in there, Josh Gad, Judi Dench, Penelope Cruz, William Dafoe. I know I'm forgetting someone. I don't have the cast in front of me, but it's jam packed to the gills. How ridiculous this movie is packed with A-listers, and it's based. Johnny Depp's in there. Michelle Pfeiffer, that was the one I was thinking about. But Johnny Depp, Michelle Pfeiffer, they're all in there. This is a cast it's jam packed. It's a story about a bunch of people on a train, and one of them ends up getting murdered. And Kenneth Branagh plays Hercule. I can't remember starts with a P. He says it in the trailer too, but I just can't remember what it was. But he plays, according to him, it's kind of his only line in the trailer, his only big line in the trailer is like, I may be the greatest detective in the world. He's leading the charge, and he's leading the investigation, and it's pretty cool. It seems like it's basically a whodunit film, but just the way the teaser is, it's pretty cool. It's almost like a Clue movie. It's basically a big budget Clue movie. It looks really good. This is a movie that's been in the works for a very long time as well, and to finally see it on the big screen. This movie does definitely come out in November. I do remember that, but it looks pretty good if you want to go check it out. Murder on the Orient Express. And finally, the last trailer that came out this week. This one came out on Monday of all places and all the time. This is a trailer the first trailer, I should say, for Steven Soderbergh's heist comedy Logan Lucky.
Jimmy, I'm just gonna say it. I gotta let you go.
You were just fired.
I was let go for liability reasons involving insurance.
The one-armed bartender.
You need to show a little respect. Charlotte Motor Speedway. I know how they move the money.
The only guy who knows anything about blowing up real bank vaults is Joe Bang.
I am incarcerated.
Yeah, we got a plan to get you out.
The Coca-Cola 600 is the biggest race of the year.
We need a computer whiz.
I know everything there is to know about computers, okay? All the Twitters, I know them.
Welcome to the Coca-Cola 600.
How many yards away is the vault?
20 yards. I don't know, maybe 30.
Is it 20 or is it 30? We are dealing with science here.
They're gonna know what we want them to know.
My life of crime is over.
That is massively stupid.
It's been handled.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
That looks like it hurts.
I want everything on Jimmy Logan.
I'm about to get naked. So no bacon. I said no bacon.
You Logans mustn't be as simple-minded as people say.
People say that.
Would you give me my arm, please?
Is it this one?
This is a movie that we've talked about on the podcast. This is a movie that is a return of Steven Soderbergh, who said he was going to retire and ended up. By the way, Steven Soderbergh, the director of Ocean's 12 and 11 and 13, Side Effects, Contagion, right? I think he directed Contagion. But yeah, he also. But he said he was retiring from filmmaking, and then he went on to do the Star show, The Nick, and now he's back into the feature film fold, which is great because he's an awesome director. And Logan Lucky looks good. It looks pretty damn good. This is another movie that has a pretty big cast. You got Channing Tatum in there. You got Adam Driver. Daniel Craig plays this wacky character that you don't assume Daniel Craig will play. Riley Keough's in there. Catherine Waterstone is in there, and I believe Seth MacFarlane's in there as well, amongst some other. Sebastian Stan is in there as well. It looks great. It looks really funny. I'm a huge fan of the Ocean's 11 movies. I love the first one. I actually watched it. It was on the morning the other day, and I watched it. Ocean's 12, not so good. Ocean's 13, that was okay too. But I'm a huge Steven Soderbergh fan, and I can't wait to see what he does with this. It looks really funny. It looks good. I'm gonna go watch it. Alright, so let's move on to this week's news items. Like I mentioned, it was a pretty slow week. I mean, we got some big news items to talk to, but a lot of the stuff is just a lot of the small, contained. We don't need to go into it too much, so I'm going to do a casting tidbit speed round for you guys. We're not going to get too into it too much, so we're just going to just talk about them, say where they are, and just move on, because I don't have too much to say about it. About some of these, so I'm just gonna move right past them. So first up, The Strangers 2 as Martin Henderson. Henderson has now joined Christina Hendricks, Bailey Madison, and Lewis Pullman on the sequel to The Strangers. The film follows a family whose road trip takes a turn when they arrive at a secluded mobile home park after the power goes out. They decide to hunker down for the night in a burrow trailer. Under the cover of darkness, 3 familiar masked psychopaths pay them a visit. We talked about this on the podcast when it was announced. Huge fan of The Strangers. Can't wait. Hopefully the sequel will be good, because I've been waiting for this one for a while. But Martin Henderson has now been added to the cast. I assume he's probably playing the father character in this. Joel David Moore returns for the Avatar sequels. Joel David Moore will reprise his role as scientist Norm Spellman for the Avatar sequels. He was the one that helped Sam Worthington's Jake Sully character learn the Avatar, learn the Na'vi, I should say, the Na'vi culture. So he joins the returning cast of Sam Worthington, Zoe Saldana, Sigourney Weaver, and the recently added Cliff Curtis. Not much is known about the film, except for the fact that it will introduce the underwater world of Pandora. The film, Avatar 2, at least, will open on December 18th, 2020. Godzilla King of the Monsters adds Thomas Middleditch. The Silicon Valley star Thomas Middleditch has joined the sequel in an unknown role. He will now join the jam-packed cast. Millie Bobby Brown, Vera Farmiga, Kyle Chandler, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Sally Hawkins, Charles Dance, and Ken Watanabe. The film will be directed by Michael Doug Hardy, who co-wrote the film with Zach Shields. They wrote Krampus together. And Godzilla King of the Monsters will open on March 22nd, 2019. I'm actually a huge fan of Thomas Middleditch, so this is pretty interesting. Hotel Artemis, one of my quickly becoming most anticipated movie of whenever it comes out, has added Zachary Quinto, Kenneth Choi, and Brian T. Henry. The directorial debut of Drew Pearce, the writer of Iron Man 3 and Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, has added more stars to his already, once again, jam-packed movie. Jodie Foster will lead the film. She will play a nurse who runs an underground hospital in the near future for the city's criminals to get patched up. However, one night, one of the patients ends up there at the hospital, not just to get patched up, but to also assassinate another. So like I mentioned, Zachary Quinto, Kenneth Choi, he was the judge. I believe he was the judge. Yeah, he was the judge in the FX series The People vs. O.J. Simpson. And Brian T. Henry, he is on the FX show Atlanta, have now joined Foster. Jeff Goldblum, Dave Bautista, Sophia Bontella, Sterling K. Brown, Charlie Day, and Jenny Slate. The film doesn't have a release date just yet, but it does start film. It already actually started filming. Actually started filming yesterday. So they're already filming this movie, so there's a good chance this movie could come out sometime next year. I'm going to butcher this name. Sam Heughan, I think that's how you say his name, I don't know, or Heughan, is in talks to join the action comedy The Spy Who Dumped Me. He is actually one of the leads in the Starz original show Outlander, which is a really big deal. I haven't watched it, but I don't know. But he is in talks to play the title role of the Lionsgate action comedy The Spy Who Dumped Me. The film already has stars in Mila Kunis and Kate McKinnon, and will be directed by Susanna Fogel, who she's done some TV stuff. She's directing off a script that she co-wrote with someone else. The film follows two best friends who become part of a conspiracy when one of them discovers that the boyfriend who dumped her is actually a real-life spy. The film will start shooting sometime this summer and has a release date of July 6, 2018. Amanda Seyfried is returning for the Mamma Mia sequel, Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Yes, there is a sequel in the works for a Mamma Mia movie. So you know what? I'm not even gonna bash it because I haven't watched it yet, so I'm not gonna bash it. Amanda Seyfried, who starred in the first film, has closed the deal to return for the film. The sequel is quickly moving forward as it already has a release date, of all things, for July 20th next year. So we'll be hearing a lot more about Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again on the podcast. It also makes sense because Mamma Mia, I don't think a lot of people know this, Mamma Mia was one of the first films to launch Amanda Seyfried's career. It was that, and it was Mean Girls. So that's I mean, it makes sense for her character to come back. Most of the cast is set to return as well. So again, we'll probably be hearing a lot more about Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again sometime soon. Michelle Williams has joined Amy Schumer's comedy I Feel Pretty. Better known for her dramatic work, obviously, Michelle Williams is about to show her funny side as she has joined the upcoming Amy Schumer comedy. That sounded weird coming out of my mouth. The Amy Schumer comedy film I Feel Pretty. I don't know what's wrong with me. The film follows an ordinary woman, played by Amy Schumer, who struggles with feelings of insecurity and I don't know why I'm laughing. Insecurity and I seriously don't know why I'm laughing. I lost my place. Feelings of insecurity on a daily basis, recovers from her fall, and suddenly believes she's the most beautiful and capable person on the planet. This new confidence sees her climbing the ranks at the cosmetics company she works for, and thereby obtaining the respect of her idol and boss, played by Michelle Williams. The film will be written and directed by Abby Cohn and Mark Silverstein, this will be both of their directorial debuts, as both of them have written films like He's Not That Into You, The Vow, and most recently How to Be Single. So there's that. There's no word yet on when the film will be shooting, but Michelle Williams does have two other things on her docket, so it seems like they're pretty far away from getting that off the ground. Moving forward with another quick tidbit, Carey Mulligan has joined On the Other Side. It is an adaptation of the book On the Other Side, 23 Days with the Viet Cong. The film follows the true story of Kate Webb, a trailblazing journalist for UPI who would pave the way for all female war correspondents that came after her. Surviving fierce battles and 23 days of captivity, she emerged from the jungles of Cambodia armed with one of the most unlikely stories to come out of the Vietnam War. Mulligan will also produce the film and released a statement saying, "I'm so excited to bring Kate Webb's remarkable story to the screen. Her integrity, curiosity about the unknown, and the tenacity set her apart, I can't read now, from many other journalists of her time, and ultimately saved her life. In a world of increasing division, I can't think of a more relevant character to portray today, someone whose very survival depended on her desire to understand the other side of the story, to obtain the truth, and to report it faithfully. It is an honor to embark on this project with such a talented team of producers. On the Other Side will begin production next year in the spring. We'll obviously talk about that when more details come out on that, and when more casting comes out on that, I should say. This is the final casting, and this isn't necessarily casting in the terms of how we've been talking about so far, but it is the final little tidbit of news that we're going to talk about before we get to the bigger news items. John Wick 3 aims to start filming this year, and they will be reuniting one of the writers with Keanu Reeves. So John Wick 3 will start production this fall. They don't give an exact shooting date, but it will start filming this fall. Of course, Keanu Reeves will return to play the legendary hitman John Wick. Not only that, the film will bring back the first two films' writers, Derek Kolstad. There's no word yet on official director, but Chad Stahelski, I think that's how you say his name, who directed both films. He directed the first film with David Eich, David Leitch, I should say, and the second film by himself, because David Leitch went on to start working on other stuff. He's working with Karlstad to develop the third film and has an eye to direct this third film as well. No official story details on John Wick 3, but if you saw John Wick 2, or Chapter 2, I should say, you can probably assume what the story will be about. Alright, so that was all the quick little casting tidbits we're going to talk about. Now let's get on to the bigger kind of news items. Last week, we reported on a story that the Uncharted movie that was in the works was going a different route. It was going to go an origin story route, a prequel route, I guess. Tom Holland cast as a young Nathan Drake. Now, in something that I'm sure I haven't actually read any of the comments on this, because I was afraid to read some of them, but I'm sure some people took this way too seriously or over exaggerated on it. It was revealed in a Yahoo interview with Tom Holland, who was promoting Spider-Man: Homecoming, that he suggested the idea for the long-gesturing Uncharted film to go the younger route, to go with the young Nathan Drake, and go with essentially the origin story. So here's exactly what he said, saying, quote, "It sort of just came. It was a conversation I had with Sony's Tom Rothman about the potential of different movies that I'd like to work with Sony, and I just had an idea that maybe a young Nathan Drake would be something that audiences would be very interested in. I met with director Sean Levy at the MTV Awards, and we just had a brief chat about the potential of doing an origin story rather than copying what the games had done, and it seems like people have been really excited about it. I know I am. I'm excited to have some further conversations about it." So, like I mentioned last week when this news item broke out, that Sony seems to really be behind Tom Holland. They're giving him Spider-Man. They're giving him the Spider-Man franchise, and they're potentially giving him a new franchise in Uncharted. And while it isn't too bad for Holland because he's getting work, there's also a lot of pressure for him, potentially, to different franchises. That's what I'm trying to say. And potentially going on at the same time, because they'll probably go and film Spider-Man and then, maybe take a couple months off and then go film Uncharted. Because we know Hollywood likes to, churn up these sequels as much as they can. Now, of course, Holland is an executive at Sony, and no matter how much faith they and love they have for Tom Holland, at the end of the day, it's people like Tom Rothman, who is the head of Sony Pictures, to make decisions like this. Not Tom Holland, not director Sean Levy, Rothman. On top of all this, Holland dropped a name potentially to play Nathan Drake's mentor and friend. I'm just going to read the quote so you can find out who it is. Saying, quote, "I think Jake Gyllenhaal could be really cool, but I actually went to the Jurassic World film set the other day to visit my friend who is directing it, and Chris Pratt is on that film, who I have become very good friends with over the last few months, and I think he could be a great Sully. I think it'd be really cool because if it was an older movie, I would say that Chris would play Nathan, but I think he would be a really good Sully. I love working with Chris." So, there you have it. Tom Holland has thrown Chris Pratt's name into the Sully casting mill, if that's what you want to call it. Of course, the two have worked together on Avengers Infinity War. Of course, Tom Holland playing Spider-Man and Chris Pratt playing Star-Lord, Peter Quill. I don't know. I mean, I haven't played enough of the Uncharted games to really have an opinion on this. I like the opinion. Talent is talent. Tom Holland so far has shown nothing but talent so far. And I'm not just talking about, the 5 minutes he was in. He was in more than 5 minutes. But I'm not just talking about, the Spider-Man stuff. I'm talking about all the other stuff he's been in. He's been in some other stuff so far, and I've seen him in smaller roles, of course, in some other stuff. But talent is talent. And if you get a guy like Tom Holland, if you want to build a franchise off Tom Holland, especially one like Uncharted, knock yourself out. If you can do it, more power to you. If you can get Chris Pratt, hey, why not? Chris Pratt has worked with the company Sony Pictures before. He did Passengers for them. He did Magnificent Seven, the remake for them. And why not, right? Talent is talent. I'm not gonna knock on that, but I don't know. We'll see. Uncharted currently does not have a release date. So we'll obviously keep you guys updated on that as much as I can as well. All right, let's move on to the next news item. Tom Cruise reveals the new title for Top Gun 2 and its tone. Top Gun 2 has been in the movie news cycle for a bit. Last week, of course, it was announced that Joseph Kosinski would be directing the film and that it would start filming next year. Joseph Kosinski, by the way, directed Tron Legacy and Oblivion. Of course, Oblivion was a Tom Cruise movie, and they've already worked together before. Now, Cruise, while still promoting The Mummy, has dropped some more information about the long-gesturing sequel, first saying that the film will have the same score as the first film, and saying the tone would be the same as the first. Saying this, we're going to have the same tone that we had in the first one. Stylistically, it's going to be the same. Aviators are back, the need for speed. We're going to have a big machines. It's going to be a competition film like the first one. And it's going to be in the same vein, in the same tone as the first one, but a progression of Maverick, which of course was his character. Cruise then went on to give the official title for the film, and no, it won't be called Top Gun 2, saying it's not going to be called Top Gun 2, it's going to be Top Gun Maverick. I didn't want a number, you don't need a number. Yeah, fuck numbers. I don't know. So there you have it. I don't know why I swore. Top Gun 2 is now called Top Gun Maverick. It will have the same tone, or at least keeping in the same tone as the first film, and it will bring back the original score. I haven't seen the first Top Gun in a long time, so I don't know how I feel about all this. But one thing's for certain: if they're gonna keep the same tone, they're gonna keep the same score, they gotta have Danger Zone. That's all I'm saying. Alright, let's move on to the next news item. Hailee Steinfeld is in talks to join Transformers spin-off Bumblebee. Yes, the Transformers spin-off Bumblebee is still happening. The last we heard about the project, which I believe was, I think it was like a month ago, maybe longer. Can't remember the last time we heard about this project, but Travis Knight, the CEO of Link Entertainment, they make all the live action, all the stop motion movies. He's making his live action directorial debut. He directed Kubo and the Two Strings last year, which is very good. If you haven't seen Kubo and the Two Strings, treat yourself. It's a very good movie. But he's making his live action directorial debut on the film. Now it is in talks to bring Hailee Steinfeld into the film as well. Her character information is being kept under wraps. However, the Hollywood Reporter reported that her character is, quote, a tomboy who holds a job as a mechanic after school. Well, that's not official, but that's what they're reporting on, so we'll just take that for what it is. Plot details on the character are unknown at the moment, but of course it will probably center on Bumblebee. A couple things we do know about the project is that it will be written by Christina Hodson, who is a new writer to Hollywood, but she has scripts on the blacklist, which are scripts that are not being produced by Hollywood at the moment, but are considered very good scripts. She will be writing the film, and it will be a, quote, lower cost, unquote, installment of the Transformers franchise. Whatever that means. Now, Steinfeld, of course, she broke onto the scene with the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit back in 2010, and she's been appearing in these great films. She was in Begin Again. She was in, most recently, The Edge of 17, which was tremendously great. If you haven't seen The Edge of 17, I highly recommend you do. It is a great movie. It came out last year. She's amazing in it. She's great in it, and her chemistry with Woody Harrelson is phenomenal. So go check that out. She was also in Pitch Perfect 2. I think she's going to be in Pitch Perfect 3. She was also in Ender's Game, although her character wasn't really that big, but she's in there as well. The Untitled Bumblebee film is set to come out on June 8th, 2018. That's right, next year. So that probably means they're going to start filming sometime this year, if they really want to make that release date. We'll obviously talk about that more when more stuff comes out. Hailee Steinfeld's, she doesn't need Transformers. I don't know why she's doing this. I don't know. Yeah, let's just move on. Let's just move on before I say something that I don't want to say. I already swore once on the podcast. I don't want to swear again. Charlie Heaton is in talks to join. I'm all discombobulated now. Is in talks to join New Mutants, while Henry Zaga and Blue Hunt have officially joined. The X-Men spin-off New Mutants has its sights set on Stranger Things star Charlie Heaton. The actor is in talks to play Cannonball in the movie. For those of you guys that don't know, he propels himself into the air and is invulnerable while doing so, aka Cannonball. If Heaton joins the project, he will join the already officially casted stars of Anya Taylor-Joy as Magic, a girl with sorcery abilities and uses teleportation discs to travel anywhere, including in between dimensions. She is also the younger sister of X-Man Colossus in the comics. I don't know if they'll keep that continuity in the movie. And Maisie Williams, who will play Wolfsbane, a girl struggling to reconcile her religious beliefs with their power that turns her into a wolf. So they are officially joined in. He is in talks, and if he officially joins, he will join the cast as well, along with new cast member Henry Zaga, who is officially signed on to play Sunspot. He has the ability to absorb and channel solar power, and also, shoot it out of his hands to other people as well. Last week it was reported that Rosario Dawson was in talks to join the film as well, as a mentor to the team and a doctor who can create a biofield around her to protect herself. Recently, and I mean really recently, like earlier today, it was released that Blue Hunt, a newcomer to Hollywood, has joined the cast as the Native American telepath mutant Moonstar. Her powers also include the ability to create illusions drawn from the fears and desires of a person's mind. And her character might be more important than we realize, because according to some sources and reports, the plot leans heavily on a classic storyline from the New Mutants comics called Demon Bear, which Moonstar is a central character in. The search was long for her character because they wanted someone similar to Sunspot as well. They wanted someone who was of that race, of that ethnicity. And Henry Zaga is Brazilian, Sunspot is Brazilian in the comics, Moonstar is a Native American, and Blue Hunt is Native American, or part Native American herself. It was announced last week that, of course, director Joss Boone, who directed The Fault in Our Stars, and he's the director of this movie, so the film was going to take a more horror/thriller approach, and the rumored plot at the moment for the film is that it will follow a new and young group of mutants who are being held captive in a secret facility and must learn to use their abilities, face their past sins, and escape. Which will make sense if they had to face their past sins with Moonstar's ability, because maybe she's not fully control of her powers, and she's kind of the reason why everyone's freaking out. So it should be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. New Mutants will start filming next month in July for a release date of April 13th, 2018. I'm looking forward to New Mutants. I actually am. I think this young cast of relatively unknowns. I mean, Maisie Williams, sure, we know her from Game of Thrones. Anya Taylor-Joy, we know her from Split and from The Witch. So her star's on the rise as well. But these other people, I mean, Henry Zaga, he's on the... He's a star from he's one of the, not the star, but he's a star on the Netflix series 13 Reasons Why, which of course is a big hit with a lot of people right now. Blue Hunt, probably the most unknown of the cast so far. Charlie Heaton's from Stranger Things. He plays the brother of the kid that went missing in the first season. Blue Hunt, she's the real unknown of the cast because she's appeared in some episodes. Her biggest thing to date was a string of episodes on the CW show The Originals. That's been her biggest thing so far, and now she's being cast in this, and this is really gonna put her out there and put a lot of these people out there. I mean, not everyone watches Game of Thrones, and not everyone saw Split or maybe even The Witch, so. This is a pretty good cast of unknowns or up and comers in Hollywood, and putting them in this kind of in this structure is kind of cool. And the fact that it will be, sure, it's a horror/thriller set within the world of the X-Men. I think that's pretty cool. I know some people are against the idea of doing that, but I kind of think it's kind of cool. I think it's different, which is what people want. Sometimes, a lot of the time for these movies, and I think this is a really different approach that we've seen so far. And sure, yeah, we can put them in costumes and we can make them face like this big super villain, but taking more of a small, dramatic kind of horror thriller approach, having them face their fears, that's something that everyone faces through, but add on the fact that they're mutants, they're different from everyone else. I think that's pretty cool. All right, so let's move on with the next news item, which is the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie has found a director in Adam Wingard. Warner Brothers has already announced they are making their own shared universe of monster movies called the Monsterverse. Of course, we have Godzilla in there, we have Kong Skull Island in there, and now we have the in-development sequel of Godzilla 2, which we talked about earlier, Godzilla King of the Monsters. But that movie, Godzilla King of the Monsters, will lead into a monstrous, I hate myself for doing that too, a big battle between Godzilla and King Kong. The film is called, of course, Godzilla vs. Kong, and now the film has found a director in Adam Wingard. This will be, for all intent and purposes, Wingard's biggest film to date. He previously directed low-budget horror thrillers like A Horrible Way to Die, You're Next, and The Guest. If you haven't seen any of those movies, I highly recommend you do. A Horrible Way to Die, You're Next, and The Guest. Those are 3 great movies that I highly recommend you watch. He also directed segments in films like The ABCs of Death and VHS. He recently directed the new Blair Witch movie, which wasn't all that great, but I don't really necessarily blame him, and the Netflix Death Note movie that's set to come out, I believe, later this year. So Wingard's a personal favorite of mine. I'm a huge fan of Your Next. I'm a huge fan of The Guest. Horrible Way to Die was a movie that I didn't even know about, and I watched it. I think I watched it last year, and it was really great. It's a really great movie. I haven't seen the segments he directed in ABCs of Death. I believe I saw this segment from VHS, but I could be wrong about that. The Blair Witch movie, I mean, he got me excited for it, and I liked it for what it. I liked some of it for what it was, but it wasn't that great. Death Note, I haven't seen the original Death Note, so I have nothing about that. But I know with Adam Wingard attached, I'm gonna watch it because I like him. He's a really good director. So, and he's a self-proclaimed big fan of monster creature movies. So this is right up his alley as well. The movie currently does have a script by Terry Rossio, who wrote films like Small Soldiers, The Lone Ranger, and the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Besides seeing Godzilla face off against King Kong, there's no other plot details known just yet. And we also don't know if any characters from Godzilla or Godzilla King of the Monsters will return as well. Kong Skull Island was set in the past, so we won't see any of those characters unless there is a scene in the past set within the film. But Godzilla vs. Kong will open on May 22nd, 2020. Still a ways away, but that sneaks up on you. You never know. It's 3 years. I'm just saying. All right. Let's move on to the biggest news item of the week. I mentioned that we were going to talk about her later in the podcast. Patty Jenkins is signed on for a sequel to Wonder Woman. With Wonder Woman out in theaters today, and with early word praising the film, it's no surprise that Warner Brothers was thinking about doing a Wonder Woman sequel. They even talked a little bit about it before the film even came out. Now we know if they do one, the winning combination will be the same because Patty Jenkins revealed in a Hollywood Reporter profile that she is contracted to return to Wonder Woman 2 if Warner Brothers gives the film a green light. It's no surprise, really. I mean, studios, if they see talent, they're gonna wanna keep them. And Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot seems like a very winning combination so far. But of course, there are a number of things that could stop her return from happening. Of course, the dreaded scheduling conflicts, or the even more dreaded creative differences, which is something that Warner Brothers has a very big knack of doing with the DCEU movies. I'm looking at you, The Flash. But Jenkins did seem enthusiastic about returning for the sequel, so hopefully if a sequel is announced and they officially give it a green light, Patty Jenkins will return. So that is your big news item of the week. at least at the time of this recording. So let us move on to that's it. That's all the movie news I got. So let's move on to this week's releases. We do have a big limited release this week. It is a Spanish film called Three Idiotas, which means three idiots. It is a group of friends embark on a fun adventure determined to find a college roommate who disappeared without a trace on graduation day. That is a synopsis. However, I saw the trailer when I went to go watch How to Be a Latin Lover, which actually wasn't that bad. If it's still in theaters around you, you should give it a try and go watch it. The trailer didn't really propose that at all. It seemed like it was three guys going through college and trying to figure out what was going on. But I guess they were just trying to sell the movie. I don't know. But that is what the synopsis is, and that is what I'm reading. So, Three Idiotas, if you want to go watch that. That is your limited release. Your wide releases this week, we only have two. One of them is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. Two overly imaginative pranksters, George and Harold, voiced by Kevin Hart and Thomas Middleditch, hypnotize their principal, voiced by Ed Helms, into thinking he's a ridiculously enthusiastic, incredibly dumb-witted hero named Captain Underpants. The rest of the voice cast includes Kristen Shaw, Jordan Peele, and Nick Kroll. This looks pretty good. This doesn't look that bad. I remember reading some of the Captain Underpants books. I haven't read all of them. I'm not gonna pretend to say I did, but I did read a few of them, and I don't know. It doesn't look that bad, to be honest. It's an animated movie. You can't go wrong with those sometimes. So I've never been extremely looking forward to this, but it is something that I will go watch this weekend for sure. So we'll probably definitely be reviewing this next week as well. But let's move on to the bigger wide release this week, Wonder Woman. Before she was Wonder Woman, she was Diana, Princess of the Amazons, trained warrior. When a pilot crashes and tells conflict in the outside world, she leaves home to fight a war to end all wars, discovering her full powers and true destiny. The film stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Robin Wright, Connie Nielsen, Elena Ania, Lucy Davis, David Thewlis, did I say his name? I never pronounce his last name right, and Danny Houston. Like I mentioned, I spontaneously went to go watch this last night, and I really liked it. All the buzz, all the praise this movie was getting, saying it's the best DCEU movie to date. That's not saying much for me, because everything we've gotten so far hasn't been that good, except for Man of Steel. I still do like Man of Steel, but all the praise this movie's been getting, the fresh rating, all the memes and everything, and pictures and all the hype for Wonder Woman. It's worth it. I'm not gonna bash it. I'm not gonna bash it, because there's nothing. There's a few things I have gripes with the movie, and obviously I'll get to those when we review the podcast, when we review the movie next week. But I have nothing. There's nothing wrong with this movie. There is things wrong with this movie, but the hype. I'm saying, I think people should just hype it down just a little bit. Just take that hype down. It's a good movie. It is. It's a great movie. It's a great origin movie. Gal Gadot, whatever bad intention, whatever bad thought people had, like, oh, she's not strong enough, oh, she's not muscular enough, her boobs aren't big enough, whatever. I already swore once in the podcast. So whatever fucking excuse you had for not liking Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, or not thinking that she can carry this movie, she proves you wrong. She absolutely proves you wrong. She is a fantastic Diana. This movie is about Diana. Everyone calls her Diana. No one calls her Wonder Woman in this movie. Her name is Diana. And this is, even though the movie is called Wonder Woman, this is a story about Diana becoming Wonder Woman. This is a story about her becoming the hero and the challenges that she faces of becoming a hero and keeping that hero mentality intact. It's great. She's great in it. She's awesome in it. Chris Pine's great in it as well as Steve Trevor. It's a good movie. I would recommend it. Again, I watched it yesterday. I'm gonna go watch it again tomorrow with the whole family. It's great. It's a good movie. It's a good origin movie. The action's great in it. Seeing Wonder Woman just kick as much ass as possible is great to watch. Yeah, I mean, my only gripes with the movie are like a few small stuff that, again, I don't want to get into because it's spoiler territory, but I have a few gripes with some of the character development. I'll just say that. Not with Diana, with some of the other characters. It's a good movie. It is. It's a good movie. I wouldn't go over the top and say, this is the best movie in the world, but it is it's not just a good comic book movie. It's a good movie in general, and that's what's important. It's a good comic book movie, and I'll be very interested in seeing where Wonder Woman lands on. If people had to make a comic book movie list of their best movies, I'll be very interested in seeing where Wonder Woman ends up. I'll be honest, Wonder Woman probably, if I had to make a list, I think I might do that. I think I'll make a list at the end of the year about where Wonder Woman ends up in the comic book movie, line. Recent comic book movie line, anyway. I'll be interested in seeing where people land. I'm very interested in seeing how people think about this movie. There are some things in this movie that even I sat there and was like, huh, all right, they did that. That's interesting. I'm not gonna say what it is, but yeah, I liked it. I liked it. I would recommend it to people. I'll get more into it, next week when we review it fully and intact and spoilers and everything. But I liked it. You wanted my rating? I give it a 4 out of 5. I really would. I give it a 4 out of 5. That's where it is right now. If I go watch it tomorrow, maybe I'll enjoy it more. But I don't know. Right now, it's a 4 out of 5. It's a good movie. It's a great movie. It's a great origin movie. Gal Gadot kills it as Wonder Woman. Really, she really does. And I think that if you're gonna build a universe, you're not building it off Superman anymore. If I was DC, I'd build it off Wonder Woman. Right now, I would. My money's on Wonder Woman, to be honest. That's just me. Alright, so that's your releases for the week. Wonder Woman, Captain Underpants, and your limited release this week is Three Idiotas. So let's move on to box office predictions. Last week, I got the box office wrong. I thought Baywatch would draw a crowd in, but apparently it didn't. Because everyone takes Rotten Tomatoes probably too seriously. No, I'm just kidding. Although that is a big thing. That's a big thing going on right now, where it's like, did the Rotten Tomatoes score? I'm pretty sure I've read like 3 different headlines from 3 different websites saying that Baywatch and Pirates of the Caribbean's numbers of the box office were affected because of the Rotten Tomatoes score. I don't think so. But let's just move on from that. I'll try to find one of the articles and link it down below in the description/show notes area. But yeah, so my box office picks last week were wrong. So I predicted Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man No Tales at number 1, Baywatch at number 2, Alien Covenant at number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy at number 4, and Everything at number 5. I got all the movies right, I just got the order wrong. So the actual box office this week was Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales at number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy pushed up back to number 2, Baywatch came in at number 3, Alien Covenant at number 4, and Everything at number 5. So, yeah, that was wrong. I was wrong about that. So I'm going to move on to this week's picks. My picks this week are, of course, obviously, no doubt about it, Wonder Woman at number 1. It's going to be number 1. I think it made like 11 million Thursday night screenings yesterday. Something like that. Some number like that. But yeah, Wonder Woman at number 1. I think Captain Underpants will be number 2. It is a kids movie. It is an animated movie. I mean, after parents are probably done taking their kids to go see Wonder Woman, they're probably going to take them to go see Captain Underpants. So I think Wonder Woman will be number 1. Captain Underpants will be number 2. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales will be number 3. Guardians of the Galaxy will be number 4. And number 5, I think, will be Baywatch. Yeah. I don't know why I ended that in a question. That sounded like I ended in a question. But yeah, I think those will be my picks. I don't know if Baywatch, even with the word of mouth, I don't know if Baywatch will be able to beat Guardians of the Galaxy. Or maybe it will, because all the comic book fans are moving on from Guardians of the Galaxy and moving on to Wonder Woman. We'll see how that works out. But I'll leave it as is for now. So Wonder Woman number 1, Captain Underpants number 2, Pirates of the Caribbean number 3, Guardians of the Galaxy number 4, and Baywatch at number 5. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I mentioned, it was a slow news week, but it was a big news week for like the smaller kind of stuff. So obviously, if anything big drops, you can go over to the Facebook page. There's a link down below in the comments. I always do that. It's in the show notes / description area. You guys can go to facebook.com/moviepit. That's facebook.com/moviepit. Again, if anything big drops while the podcast is processing and uploading, it will go up there for you guys to go enjoy. Also, just go like it in general. It's a page for the podcast. Gives you guys an early preview of what we're going to talk about. Of course, I go more into detail on the news items here on the podcast than I do on the Facebook page. Also, while you're down there, you can go check out all the links to the trailers that came out this week. And also, while you're down there, you can go check out my WordPress account. There will be a written review, a non-spoiler review for Wonder Woman. So again, like I mentioned, no spoilers for that review up on my WordPress account, which is wordpress.com. I'm sorry, movieswithchris.wordpress.com, movieswithchris.wordpress.com. Go check that out. Also, while you're down there, you can go to my personal Instagram and Twitter pages, more kind of personal stuff for me on that, especially with Twitter. Instagram, it's, banners for the Facebook, banners for the podcast, and pictures of my food and cat. And speaking of my cat, he's sleeping right next to me. Oh, pop the setup. You didn't need to know that. But yeah, there. That's, if you want to follow me on social media, you can do that. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you guys. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm a bit scatterbrained. So hopefully editing fixes that. But if it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what to say. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. You guys have been great. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And like I mentioned, next week I will definitely, no matter what, be doing a review for Wonder Woman, a spoiler review of Wonder Woman. So keep that in mind. But like I mentioned, if you're going to go watch Wonder Woman, let me know what you thought. If you watched it, let me know what you thought, whether on Twitter or Instagram or right here on the comment section for this. Wonder Woman, like I mentioned, it's a great movie. It is. It's a good movie. I'm not going to lie, it's a good movie. It's a great origin story. Gal Gadot kills it as Wonder Woman. She really does. I don't know, if you still hating on Gal Gadot after watching this. You're just a bitter person. I don't know what's wrong with you. But I know everyone has their own opinion on who should play Wonder Woman, but I think she absolutely nails it out of the park. So yeah, that's all I got. So thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast this week. You guys have been awesome. Have a safe, fun weekend. And as always, go watch some movies.
Whoop whoop! Yeah! Give it up! Movies!